This episode of Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you by the Aleut Corporation.
1, 2, 3, 4, let's go.
It's Heartbeat.
It's a fabulous show.
Alaska.
Hi, Heartbeat Alaska.
It's Heartbeat. Alaska.
Pull up a chair and enjoy the show.
Hear it from Sitka to Barrow. Gather around for Jeannie's show. It's the Aleut, the Indian, and the Eskimo. It's the Aleut, the Indian, and the Eskimo.
Welcome one, welcome all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska Native News and Information. I'm Jeannie Green. Thank you for joining us. Today, we present a very different type of show. It's a show filled with variety. First of all, we meet Marissa Merculieff, an incredible Aleut woman who hails from St. Paul, Alaska. She just happens to be the first Aleut admitted into the Alaska State Bar. Oh, and the story goes on. Wait till you hear it. And we travel to the lower 48 for some news from the Northwest. Also, back up to Nome, we get to ride along with the Nome cabbie. It's a great show. And now, let's meet Marissa.
Please raise your right hand. I, Marissa J. Merculieff.
I'm Marissa J. Merculieff.
In the Nesbitt Courthouse in downtown Anchorage, a young Aleut woman from St. Paul is being sworn into legal office by Superior Court Judge Dan Hensley.
United States and the Constitution of the State of Alaska.
A momentous occasion for anybody pursuing a career in law. This particular ceremony is especially significant to the native people of St. Paul, many of whom are eagerly gathered to listen live by speakerphone from their island community.
St. Paul hears you fine, ma'am. Thank you.
I will strive to uphold the honor
I will strive
To uphold the honor and to maintain the dignity of the profession,
and to maintain the dignity of the profession
and to improve not only the law,
but the administration of justice.
To improve not only the law,
but the administration of justice.
congratulations.
Thank
You're now
you.
a member of the Alaska Bar.
Many of Marissa's friends and family are also present for the ceremony. Among them is her father, Larry Merculieff, who chooses the occasion to present his daughter with a unique congratulatory gift.
I've got something here that I figure I'm going to give to her that I've kept for several years. The plaque that I gave her was dedicated in a ceremony on St. Paul Island on the day the government pulled out of the Pribilofs. And we had lost 80% of our jobs literally overnight. Cost of living came up 2,000%. And we were looking for ways to reinstill hope amongst our people. And so we conducted a parade and a ceremony in commemoration of all of our people and what they went through throughout our history as inspiration to bring us through the tough times that we were going through. And that plaque is a plaque that we actually dedicated there on St. Paul in October of 1983.
Situated on the largest of the 5 Pribilof Islands in Alaska's Bering Sea, St. Paul is known today as the largest Aleut community in the world. St. Paul became home to the ancestors of many of its current residents in 1788. It was then that the Russian fur traders relocated enslaved natives from Siberia and the Aleutians in order to take advantage of the remarkable seal hunting skills of these people. It was here in the Pribilofs that Marissa spent her childhood, where she showed early signs of the outstanding achiever she was to become.
Oh, she was always and still is a very, very passionate and determined person. I mean, whatever she sets her mind to do, she's determined to go for it. And ever since she was a little child, she had always been that way, always been her own person, and always very strong-minded and strong-willed. I think that'll serve her well in her profession. I think you're going to need that, particularly if you begin to work in the area of indigenous rights.
After her years in St. Paul, Marissa pushed herself off to an early academic start and has come a long way in the time since.
Well, I started college at 16, so I kind of rushed through high school and then went to Arizona State, did 4 years there, got my bachelor's.
She graduated, she got her undergraduate in Arizona in marine biology, and that's when I came to know her She came to intern for me at the Ocean Conservancy here in Alaska.
Took a couple years off, not sure what I want to do. Talked to law school, went to law school, and loved it. Loved every minute of school so much.
The first law student from Arizona State University in the history of the law school there that had graduated with 2 law certificates, one in tribal law and one in environmental law. And she graduated cum laude, too.
And then studied for the Alaska Bar, which is a 2-month-long class to study for, and then took the bar, waited a couple months to get the results, and it's all a very, very long, tiring, emotional process, but well worth it in the end.
She's the first Aleut to have ever gone to law school, and she's the first Aleut to ever be admitted to the Alaska State Bar. So today is a historic moment.
Marissa's worked for me just for 2 months. She's extraordinarily hardworking, really organized, very helpful. A law clerk does research and writing for the judges to help them make decisions, and she's one of the best law clerks I've had, and I'm really happy that she's working for me. She makes my job a lot easier.
Yes.
So that's from St. Paul.
Following her swearing in, Marissa is quick to acknowledge all those who gave support through her journey to this triumphant moment.
It took pretty much the entire Aleut nation, all the people in the entire community of St. Paul, and really their support, and they kept me motivated and encouraged me constantly. I was just an individual who was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to benefit from the strength and determination of the Aleut people, and to represent the strength and determination in a public and visible way. Because of that, today I especially want to thank the Aleut people and the community of St. Paul, because I would not have succeeded and I would not continue to succeed without their support. Specifically today, I want to recognize the 4 entities representative of the Aleut people: the Aleut Foundation, TDX Foundation, the St. Paul Tribal Government, and Central Bering Sea Fishermen's Association. It is because of these entities I was able to complete 4 years of college, 3 years of law school, and prepare for and pass one of the hardest bar exams in the country.
She's been one of, if not the highest scholarship recipient in our history of providing scholarship funding for our students.
The Aleut Foundation, together with the Aleut Corporation, really pulled through for me these last 4 years. And I didn't just receive a check in the mail every semester. I received personal communication from every board member and employees from the entities telling me good luck or congratulations, or just let me know that I was doing something great.
And for the youth of rural Alaska, looking for the most effective ways to positively affect their communities, Marissa Merculieff offers this advice.
I think the best thing is really to leave Alaska, get educated, and come back. And I think that's the way you can give the most help to the people. Is getting educated. And it gets hard because once you're educated, you can't really go back to the village because there's not a lot to do out there. But there are still ways that you can be a part of the village and a part of the people and really work for them in Anchorage, or even maybe even outside of Alaska. There's a lot of ways, but definitely it's worth it. And school is a lot of fun as long as you have the determination, the dedication, and the support of the community. And there's so many resources to Alaska Natives that there's absolutely no reason why any of us shouldn't be able to reach our dreams. It's available, it just takes the work.
Did you know Heartbeat Alaska was aired in the Pacific Northwest? That's right. The same stories that you see every week about our Alaska Native people are aired throughout the United States. And today we share some of their news from the Pacific Northwest, from reporter Chenoa Egawa.
Hello, I'm Chenoa Egawa. Welcome to Northwest Indian News. NWIN is a television news program seen throughout Washington State, southern British Columbia, and now in parts of Alaska and California. Today we're visiting the Lummi Reservation near Bellingham, Washington. Lummi Nation is well known as a leader in self-governance and is highly committed to education. At Northwest Indian College, a $1.2 million grant for a Center for Student Success will be added to the current $3 million new campus plan that includes a 50-bed student resident facility, daycare center, and a 3-classroom and faculty building. The project will eventually include more than 25 academic, administrative, and educational-related buildings on the Lummi Reservation.
Sometimes we take liberty and freedom for granted. We forget the veterans paid for our sovereignty. They protected it. We have heroes amongst us every day.
Lummi Nation also has a proud cultural tradition. Today, Lummi Master Carver, Jewel James, and fellow House of Tears carvers will be leaving on a third and final journey to dedicate healing totems to each of the 3 9/11 disaster sites. This journey to the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. will end with a ceremony for the families of the victims of the terrorist attacks there. The 2 poles, named Liberty and Freedom, carry messages of harmony and healing. Another master carver, Randy Kapoman of the Quinault Indian Nation, has recently completed a welcome pole that was dedicated at a ceremony near the Squaxin Island Reservation. NWIN's Nikki Cleary has more on the story.
Over 500 years ago, a woven cedar gillnet was lost or abandoned near a shell midden on the shores of Lower Eld Inlet, Washington. At that time, the site was a thriving village occupied primarily by the ancestors of the nearby Squaxin Island tribe.
And we found over 100 feet of this net right here in the beach, interwoven throughout the beach.
The gillnet may have remained buried under the sand forever had it not been for longtime former Secretary of State Ralph Monroe and family. The discovery of fire-cracked rock on the beach, shell middens, and fish traps in the creek beds all indicated that the Monroes were not the first to live on these shores.
Well, this fish trap is amazing because they dug these posts in, posts just like this one, that are over 500-600 years old, right across the bay. And so there was a wall there across the bay with a door in the middle. And then when the fish would run, they'd close the door and force the fish into a trap right over here.
A first ever formal agreement between private landowners, tribe, and a state agency was created as archaeologists and students from South Puget Sound Community College began to excavate and preserve artifacts. 18 square meters of a woven cedar bark net was found with several salmon jaws stuck in the net's 5-inch mesh. It is the only net of its kind to be discovered, and it proved that gill nets were used here long before Europeans first arrived.
This area that we're standing in right now was one of the largest populated tribal areas in our South Puget Sound region, where tribes clear from the north would come to this area. A lot of the goods would be transported through intertribal trade routes.
The ancient village site was given the name Quoguas, which means a place to come together and unite in honor of the agreement. Master carver Randy Kapoman of the Quinault Indian Nation was asked to design and carve a welcome pole as a symbol of appreciation to the Monroe family. The welcome pole was brought to Quoguas and raised in a ceremonial gathering to bless the sacred ground.
Good thoughts. 2, 3, up. Whoa.
It sends a message that we're here. We're not somebody that's mystical. We're not somebody that's conquered and gone into hiding. But we're here, we're alive, we're well, and we're people that are thriving. We're people that are full of ideals and creative and strong. You know, we're still here, we're still doing our thing, and we're an important part of this society.
Today's tribal members carry the important cultural knowledge needed to understand the connections between the past and present.
We as a people
you know, need to recognize that what we do, if we walk the way we're supposed to walk, that the Creator is way ahead of us. And we cannot get so conceited to say, oh, look what I do. It isn't what we do. It's our ancestors and the Creator guiding this whole project. And as long as we keep them here, keep them in our hearts, in our minds, and in our prayers, they continuously bless all the people. Quoquas means place to come together, for all people to come together.
The Monroe family is looking into giving a portion of the Quoquas site to a local land trust to honor the spirits of the ancestors who once called this home. The welcoming pole now watches over the land and waters of Quoquas. The cedar fishing net, as well as many other important artifacts, have been preserved and can now be seen in the Squaxin Island Museum near Shelton, Washington. For Northwest Indian News, I'm Nikki Cleary reporting.
We're here on the Nooksack River, where it runs through the Lemhi Reservation. After 5 years of drought in the western United States, the debate over how best to use the river water goes on. In the Columbia River Basin, a federal judge recently ruled in favor of continuing to use the water to protect endangered salmon stocks. NWIN's reporter Ronnie Washines has more on the story.
The Columbia River Basin is the most hydroelectrically developed river system in the world, with over 120 dams that generate electric power. While providing cost-effective power to the region, the dams have also adversely affected salmon migration, destroyed roughly 40% of historic salmon and steelhead habitat, and have contributed to the decline or extinction of certain Columbia River salmon stocks. During the dry summer months, the Bonneville Power Administration is required by the Endangered Species Act to spill water over various Columbia River Basin main stem dams so that juvenile salmon migrating to the sea will not have to pass through the dam's power turbines.
In the present day, the fish are trapped in a series of slow-moving reservoirs, very vulnerable to predators and to temperatures. To get the water velocities up like they were originally, the summer spill agreement was concluded by the Corps of Engineers, National Marine Fisheries, and the tribes playing a key role in that negotiation.
So, when the BPA, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the NOAA Fisheries Agency proposed a plan to reduce the amount of water spilled over 4 major dams, the 4 treaty tribes, through the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission, conservation groups, and fishermen challenged the analysis. The BPA says they want to use the spill water in order to save Western ratepayers an estimated $18 to $28 million in power production costs. CritFic says BPA needs the money to pay off huge debts to the federal treasury and can do so by selling surplus power to power-hungry California and Nevada markets.
The tribes feel that they created this crisis for themselves, and it was just a matter of poor management that created the power crisis in 2001 and created the crisis to the liquidity of Bonneville Power. The tribes don't feel responsible for the liquidity or the BPA's problems. They have an obligation to the tribes to make up for fish losses incurred by the federal Columbia River power system.
United States District Court Judge James Redden intervened in the battle and ruled in favor of the salmon protection provision to spill water over the dams. The Northwest tribes were satisfied with the ruling.
This was a very important decision for our tribal people because, as we say, our treaty signers, when they signed that treaty, was given the direction to the people to continue to protect the resources, which is the water, the fish, the game, the roots and the berries. And I think this is very important, they said, for 7 generations to come and to protect it for future generations. And I think the judge made a good decision on that, looking toward the treaty rights for the tribes.
The battle between water for power or water for fish goes on, as it has for decades. The federal agencies have appealed Judge Redden's ruling to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. In the meantime, Columbia River Basin juvenile salmon will find their ordained journey to the sea much safer and much faster, just like their ancestors centuries before. For Northwest Indian News, I'm Ronnie Washings reporting.
Travel with me now to Nome, Alaska. And let's meet a cabbie. Ever wonder what it's like to be a cabbie? Well, we'll find out what it's like to be a cabbie in Nome.
My name is Cora. I'm from Sibunga, small town. I moved here 5.5 years ago. My husband's a cab driver for Louie.
Native-owned and operated, Louie's Cab was founded in Nome by owner Louie Green 3 years ago. And with the help of outgoing drivers like Jerry Couchy, has been earning its well-deserved reputation as the friendliest cab company in town ever since.
Well, I get on about 7:30 till about 7:30 some days. Some days I get off earlier. Yeah, about 10 hours, about average day. We've had people like Steven Seagal, movie stars that come up here, and people like the ones that own the Outdoor Channel. I met a guy that looked exactly like Jet Li last summer, and I asked him if that's who he was, and he said, "Oh, no, I don't have any scars." Last summer we picked up about 6 people from Argentina. They're going to gamble to go check out the birds there.
When asking about Nome's rich gold mining history, we found out that Jerry's own family history may have played a crucial role in what was to become the incident that triggered gold fever on the Bering Sea over 100 years ago.
My great-grandpa was, he found this what turned out to be some gold, and he went over and he showed these people, asked them what it was, and they told him that it was gold, and they asked him where he got it from, and he showed them, and anyway, it turned out to be where those 3 lucky Swedes. He showed them where it was, and of course they never gave him a cut, though.
For those of you unfamiliar with the 3 lucky Swedes, Jaffet Lindberg, Eric Lindblom, and John Bertison are credited with the discovery of gold in Anvil Creek in 1898. Within a year of their discovery, Anvil City, as Nome was known then, grew to 10,000 people. Nowadays, the population of the city at the end of the Iditarod Trail has dropped to around 3,500, which can make taxi driving a pretty aggressive business.
Some cab companies are pretty much kind of competitive.
My cousins were getting off the airplane, and I got the call, and it turned out to be the other cab company was their call, and I got cussed out, and I wanted to tell them that they're my cousins and they jumped in here. We have what's called a free enterprise, and it's up to the customer who they want. And that day they jumped into my cab, and I got cussed out by one of the other cab drivers. Roger, I'm in Rock. Right now I'm picking up my aunt, who's just came in from Galvin Hoyne Mountain now. Irene and Willa.
Wait. Well, hi. How you doing? The regulars, they're called regulars. They call pretty much loyal. It's cool when you get to know them, and then you meet different people. You know, you get somewhat of a scoop on what's going on in town. That's cool.
Let's do that a couple of times to head out there and looking around for somebody, but there wasn't really anybody out there.
Hey, got a free ride.
302.
5-6 rides and get the 7th free in-town use only, and the driver marks it off or signatures it after each fare. And then on the 7th one, they get a free ride.
I want to go to Teller now.
Meeting people. That's my favorite part, just meeting people. Saying hi, talking, meeting people. Socialize.
Hello from Nome. We love Heartbeat, Alaska.
I really enjoy what I do.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Heartbeat Alaska Native News and Information. Thank you so much for all your phone calls and emails. And yes, you can buy tapes. Give us a call at 907-563-7440. For all of us here, God bless you. I'm Jeannie Green. We'll see you again next week.